Hello everyone, I am Grand Royson, welcome to new video. Today I am going to discuss best 16 Winter 2024 anime. The Winter 2024 anime season is underway, bringing with it more than 30 series across a range of genres, themes, and streaming platforms. While perhaps not as overflowing with big names and sequels as some recent seasons, this quarter is not lacking in quality or variety either. Winter 2024 is especially interested in action, comedy, and Isekai stories, all of which have multiple representatives that are worth checking out. Although not as plentiful as some other genres, romance anime might steal the spotlight throughout this quarter. 16. Blue Exorcist, Shimane Illuminati Saga. The newest Blue Exorcist arc has been overshadowed by a few other Winter 2024 action anime, and sequels can struggle to retain an audience if they are not the biggest names around. While popular, Blue Exorcist's adaptation has suffered from long gaps between seasons and retconned content. Still, the Shimane Illuminati saga has been an exciting ride so far, and it has blended action and drama well. After a few fairly light-hearted episodes, the season kicked into gear with Izumo's abduction by the Illuminati, a turn of events fueled by an intense betrayal. Since then, Blue Exorcist has balanced the hero's rescue mission with Izumo's backstory and the Illuminati's attempts to revive their demonic master. All these elements have not only worked in isolation but have also combined to create an engrossing whole. Also, Blue Exorcist might have Winter 2024's most detestable villain. 15. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Like any recent season, Winter 2024 is stuffed with fantasy anime, with most of the biggest shows falling within the genre. Consequently, a few series can get lost in the shadow of heavyweights like Frieren or the many entries in the Isekai subgenre, and the Unwanted Undead Adventurer serves as a prime example of an underrated Winter 2024 anime. Rent is a bronze-level adventurer who has not experienced much growth in recent years, and while he is fairly hard on himself, he has unknowingly made quite an impact on his guild and the people around him. While exploring a low-level dungeon, he finds a hidden passage that leads him to a fight against a powerful dragon. Unsurprisingly, Rent is completely defeated. Surprisingly, he does not die and instead finds himself living as an undead monster. Thus, starts his journey towards evolution as he seeks to become something more human. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer takes an inspired premise and adds a great protagonist and a couple of likable supporting characters. Although nothing especially unique on the surface, Rent feels like a three-dimensional figure who has a well-defined backstory that influences his present actions. His transformation is also shrouded in mystery, as is the dungeon that he regularly visits in an attempt to grow more powerful and hopefully evolve into a vampire since they are closer in appearance to humans. 14. The Witch and the Beast. The Witch and the Beast has many great things going for it, even if the anime has yet to fully capitalize on its concept's potential. Set in a reality inspired by the Victorian era, the story follows Godot and Ashoff as they take on supernatural-themed cases, with the former only being on board in an attempt to locate the witch who placed a curse on her. Following an episodic structure so far, the season covers a series of interesting cases that are enjoyable in isolation but do not seem to connect all that much, although they do flesh out the world. Godot and Ashoff are cool, and they are both shrouded in mystery despite having wildly different personalities. That said, they are a bit too aloof at the moment, which makes it difficult to root for them beyond their status as the show's protagonists. In fact, The Witch and the Beast's best episodes so far revolved around another detective team entirely, the far more interesting Fanora and Johan. Still, the core duo are fun in their own right. 13. Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard? Do not judge an anime, or manga, by its title. Cherry Magic. 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard? Sounds a bit too silly to be taken seriously, and it fails to paint an adequate picture of the show's appeal. Adachi can hear people's thoughts when he touches them, a power that has mostly been a negative addition to his life. However, one day, he accidentally touches his popular co-worker, Kurosawa, and learns that he has a big crush on him. This news not only comes as a shock to Adachi, but also forces him to recontextualize his views on his co-worker. As the two slowly get closer, the protagonist finds himself pulling back as he does not want to give Kurosawa false hope. However, Adachi's feelings are also starting to become muddled. Cherry Magic takes a fairly traditional boys' love pairing, a confident man who is interested in an inexperienced guy, and introduces a supernatural twist that brings depth to most of their encounters. Adachi is likable as a confused guy in a tough situation with no easy answers. Meanwhile, the protagonist's power provides insight into Kurosawa's actions, revealing a person who is hardly as confident and secure as he might seem. 12. Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy, Season 2. Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy has all the ingredients synonymous with generic isekai anime, an overpowered protagonist, strong female characters who instantly decide they need a master, and a bog-standard medieval-style world. However, the show still manages to establish a unique identity, and it serves as a prime example that tropes are fine as long as they are utilized well. The anime's greatest strength is its characters, specifically Makoto, Tomo, Mio, and Shiki. While capable of destroying disaster-level threats without breaking a sweat, Makoto is nevertheless likable, largely thanks to his comedic sensibilities and the fact he faces prejudice due to his looks. He has some flaws, even if they are not that detrimental. In most isekai stories, the MC attracts a colorful cast of supporters willing to do anything to garner their leader's attention. While following this formula, Tsukimichi allows these characters to exist away from Makoto's shadow. Tomo and Mio have arguably the most entertaining dynamic in the series, and they regularly produce big laughs and feature prominently in action sequences. Season 2 is building nicely on its predecessor's strong foundation. 11. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. With 10 shows covering the theme, Winter 2024 is not devoid of isekai anime. These types of stories are popular, but the concept's overexposure makes it difficult to get excited over new stories since they tend to recycle the same few tropes. While that holds for some of the season's offerings, Winter 2024 has quite a few isekai anime that go against convention. Even though the adaptation has been a mixed bag, my instant death ability is so overpowered is the ultimate anti-isekai tale. Sasaki and Peeps is a bizarre blend of clichés that stretch beyond isekai, while Ashura has plenty of fascinating parts. Then, there is The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, which follows a high school student who is accidentally summoned to another world by a kingdom in need of heroes. Dragged along with two exceptional schoolmates, Ken Yusato learns that he has an affinity for healing magic, a development that grabs the attention of Rose, a peculiar mage who leads the rescue squad. Unfortunately for Ken, his new master's training methods are the stuff of nightmares. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic provides a clever take on the isekai formula, and Ken is a lovable protagonist. More importantly, the show has been hilarious so far, with Rose's antics producing almost non-stop laughter. As the season progresses, the tone is gradually shifting due to a looming war against the Demon Kingdom, and the anime has handled these more serious moments well. 10. Delicious in Dungeon. A clever twist on the D&D formula, Delicious in Dungeon follows a group of adventurers who are on an important mission to rescue a friend, and relative, who is being slowly digested by a dragon. The stakes are high, and they cannot afford to waste time by stocking up on too much food, consequently, they decide to catch their meals. Yes, this anime is all about living off the land, specifically a dungeon filled with all sorts of fantastical monsters and creatures. Somehow, Delicious in Dungeon can turn the most disgusting of entities into a mouth-watering dinner that would not look out of place in Food Wars. Obviously, this series is a comedy, and it is a pretty hilarious one. The humor largely comes from Leos and Senchi's enthusiasm for eating monsters, reactions that juxtaposition brilliantly with Marcel's reluctance to partake in this type of cuisine. The animation is also quite good, and the dungeon's levels are filled with neat details that will likely please fantasy or tabletop fans. 9. Urusei Yatsura, 2022, Second Season. Rumiko Takahashi's Urusei Yatsura is an influential comedy and sci-fi manga that has spawned 2 anime adaptations. A cult classic, the 1981 version is worth checking out, but it is not easy to find in this day and age. Thankfully, the story received another adaptation in 2022, one that is readily available on HiDive. Featuring great animation and adhering closely to the manga, Urusei Yatsura's latest incarnation demonstrates why this property has endured for so long, especially in Japan. While modernized in its presentation, the anime's humor and characters echo the source material's age, with both elements seeming like they were ripped right out of the 80s. The pervert protagonist might be dated, but Ataru holds up as one of this trope's better representatives, and his antics are consistently hilarious. Ataru's soon-to-be bride, steals the spotlight while covering a plethora of roles. She works well as a straight man to Ataru's shenanigans, all the while adding a touch of heart to the story. However, she is also regularly funny, especially as a driving force for the anime's stellar slapstick. Urusei Yatsura is comforting. Sure, the characters change very little and the skits are largely inconsequential, but they are also consistent. Viewers know what they are going to get when they tune in for an episode of this show. 8. Classroom of the Elite 3. Classroom of the Elite's 3rd season offers more of the same, mind games, academic contests, and threats of expulsions. All in all, fans of the previous course will likely enjoy watching the current saga, especially since the anime is finally starting to present Ayanokuji with challenges that threaten to stretch beyond his control. Season 3 has also pushed Arisu Sakayanagi and Hanami Ichinos to the forefront more than ever before, and they are both fascinating characters who utilize very different methods to wield influence over their classmates. As enjoyable as Season 3 has been, Classroom of the Elite also has its issues. In an attempt to cover the remaining first year's arcs, the adaptation is moving at a blistering pace, to the point of rushing through storylines. Although this is par for the course for this anime, Season 3 feels especially on rails, with the characters and audience being granted very little room to breathe. While perhaps not consistently brilliant so far, Classroom of the Elite Season 3 produced one of the show's most satisfying chapters yet. Episode 8 represented the anime at its best, delivering suspense, twists, and even a splash of humor. 7. Seventh Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. While not quite as popular as Isekai, same-world reincarnation stories are fairly common when compared to other niche themes, and Winter 2024 has produced one of the most interesting takes on the concept in a long time. Riche, a noblewoman, finds herself caught in a strange time loop. Without fail, she dies when she is 20, always reincarnating a few years earlier just as her awful fiancé is about to humiliatingly dump her. Despite leading very different lives each time, Riche's path always leads to death, courtesy of a war started by a prince from a neighboring country. However, on her 7th loop, she runs into that very same man, starting an unexpected romance that will hopefully allow her to carve out a future. A strong premise means nothing if it is executed poorly or features bland characters. Fortunately, 7th Time Loop cannot be accused of either. Riche is a marvelous, confident, and proactive protagonist, one whose capabilities are born out of genuine experiences cultivated over multiple, short, lives. Mysterious but also oddly charming, Prince Arnold is a fascinating male lead in his own right, and he has chemistry with Riche. 6. Mashle, Magic and Muscles, the Divine Visionary Candidate Exam Arc. With fairly repetitive humor and a couple of underwhelming fights, Mashle's Spring 2023 cour was decent but not particularly great. Still, the anime showed enough positives to suggest it could produce something of higher quality once the groundwork for its secondary characters has been laid. Season 2 needs to prove this story can produce excitement and laughs in episodes that push Mash, the muscle-brained protagonist, to the side. This seems to be coming true, and a few of this season's funniest moments have featured other characters, even though Mash is still very much the star. 5. A Sign of Affection. Winter 2024 loves a good romance, and A Sign of Affection has all the pieces to be a great one. Yuki Itos, a hearing-impaired college student, has a meet-cute with the well-traveled Itsuomi Nagi while on a train, and she finds herself hoping to see him again. Luckily, her friend happens to know him, and they wind up going to his workplace. More importantly, Yuki gets the courage to ask for his contact information. A Sign of Affection has two instantly likable protagonists. Yuki is charming and refreshingly direct, all the while still showing nerves as she is not accustomed to feeling these sorts of emotions. Meanwhile, Nagi comes very close to being slightly too perfect, but his wholesome interest in Yuki is just endearing. 4. Ninja Kamui. An extremely late addition to the winter 2024 season, Ninja Kamui is shaping up to be an absolute thrill ride, at least based on the first couple of episodes. Due to being licensed by Warner Bros. And Adult Swim, the original anime has fewer restrictions than series that have to air on standard television. Consequently, there will be blood. The central narrative is quite straightforward, almost to the point of being basic. Tracked down by his clan, a former ninja named Joe is left at death's door after watching his family be brutally murdered. However, he somehow survives. Naturally, his purpose in life is now to seek revenge, and he plans to take down everyone in his clan. As previously stated, there will be blood. As cliché as its premise might be, Ninja Kamui makes the most of it, delivering visceral action sequences along with dropping hints of intriguing world-building. While still too early to predict the story's complexity or nuance, the anime has set up enough threads to suggest it has more to offer than just gore-filled fights. That said, if it ends up being just an action romp, that is hardly a bad thing either. Sometimes, simplicity is the best policy. 3. Solo Leveling. Without question, Solo Leveling was the most highly anticipated winter 2024 anime. Based on arguably the most popular manhwa of all time, the adaptation needs to knock almost everything out of the park if it wants to meet expectations, and A1 Pictures has mostly hit the ground running. That said, Solo Leveling's first episode mostly focused on setting up the world through some fairly heavy-handed exposition, resulting in an enjoyable but weirdly paced opener. Still, even if it mostly acted as a tease of things to come, the content was generally good. Fortunately, the subsequent episodes more than deliver on their predecessor's hype, and they do a great job of highlighting the story's appeal: vicious, intense action and a likable lead with a high power ceiling. After gates to fantastical worlds started to pop up around the world, people began to develop special abilities, leading to the rise of the hunter profession. Split into ranks determined by their powers, hunters have no forward momentum. Consequently, an E-rank member like Sung Jin-woo is destined to remain weak. While on a mission in a D-level gate, a group of hunters decide to venture down a secret passage in search of riches. This proves to be a mistake, and Sung Jin-woo finds himself on death's door. However, he is chosen to become a player, allowing him to improve his stats as a reward for completing daily challenges. Solo Leveling is a power fantasy that makes its protagonist work for their power, even if his growth is extremely fast. Sung Jin-woo is always pushing himself to take on threats that seem to be above his current level, which ensures most fights are not one-sided slaughters. The hunter culture is also quite fascinating. 2. Kingdom Season 5. Kingdom should be bigger than it is. The manga is rightfully hailed as a masterpiece, but the anime got off to a notoriously underwhelming start due to the first season utilizing terrible CGI. The storytelling was already fantastic, but anime is a visual medium, and poor animation can be difficult to look past. Season 2 was a step in the right direction in this regard, and Season 3 saw the animation become genuinely great, which has remained the case ever since. With over 120 episodes under its belt, Season 5 is largely inaccessible to anyone who has not followed Kingdom over the years, meaning the show will not get as much attention as some other winter 2024 anime. However, that has no bearing on its quality. Kingdom Season 5 covers the Kokoyu campaign arc, which finds Lee Xian's unit being assigned to work with Huan Yi's massive army as they take on Zhao's forces on a distinct battlefield set in a forest. With the armies having fairly opposed philosophies, Li Xian and Huan Yi's forces have instant tension, and they are going into a fight that could go south almost immediately. In a few episodes, Kingdom brilliantly sets up the current storyline's key players, the terrain they will be fighting over, and the central strategy that will likely determine the victor. 1. The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. The Dangers in My Heart was one of 2023's best romance anime, and Season 2 could very well be better than its predecessor. Anna and Kyotaro's relationship has completely transitioned from awkward banter to heartwarming camaraderie built on support and mutual respect. While they are not exactly an open couple yet, the story does not downplay their fondness for each other, while still acknowledging they are both trying to come to terms with the overwhelming feelings they are experiencing. Even without the romance angle, Anna and Kyotaro's friendship is admirable and refreshingly grounded, despite being romanticized to an extent. With beautiful animation, earnest characters, and charming humor, The Dangers in My Heart is an all-around masterclass in character development. Romance is not everyone's cup of tea, but this series is comfortably among the top Winter 2024 anime, and a must-watch for anyone remotely interested in the genre. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share. For more, thanks you all, meet you in another video.